I'd be happy to do that at any time. You know, if you get into health and world language
I'm
and
not trying to indict the
No.
system.
no, I know you're not. I completely understood your question,
It's
and,
trying to indict the budget.
and that's the problem. It's we work too hard and have too many talented people in what we do and what we believe we are doing in the best interest of children. So I always feel comfortable about what we're doing. It is difficult though when you collaborate outside of our district and look at different ways schools are built and things. Could we be spending a lot more money in the elementary schools to better serve our students? Without a doubt, 100% yes.
And I think you turn around and say, we're not shortchanging them, but we're certainly not providing them with the opportunities that we could be providing them with. And we're not able to provide the intervention for those students who need it. We can do a little, but we can't do enough with the staff that we have.
I would say that we are shortchanging our students because we cut 2 days out of the school calendar and we haven't found a way to restore it.
That's right.
That was a step backwards, and it's something I am not proud that our district did that. And to some people, 2 days seems unimportant, but I would venture to guess that 2 days with some kids in the classroom would make a huge difference. And I think that the school committee and the town of North Reading needs to make it a focus goal to get those 2 days back. And that's a baby step. But if we can't take that baby step, we can't talk about foreign languages in the middle school.
Well, that's a great point. We almost forgot it. We did that 2 years ago,
2 years ago.
and it's almost been forgotten that we cut 2 days off the school year.
I'll say this, if class size is the top priority in elementary schools, we're in good shape right now. I mean, I think the class size is excellent across the board for all grades and for all schools. So that's a huge head start at least for the coming year, if we can maintain that class size.
But again, it's just a number, again, that you've got this need component that I think we always forget because we're so focused on what the quantifiers are, when in fact, it has to do the context that the child learns in. And that's what we struggle to make work with our budget. So we hear that loud and clear.
And I guess, just as an overview, we never know at this time of the year what we're going to have for a budget, but it's pretty clear, I think it's crystal clear that we're not going to have enough money for a level services budget. And I would venture to guess that the shortfall would be somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million.
Right. It's really big.
When you look at that kind of shortfall, I just don't know, given that the school's budgets for each school is at the 2004 level, we have increased school spending for 6 years, basically. They're spending the same amount in fiscal 2011 that they spent in fiscal 2004. My guess is that supplies have gone up and a lot of other things have gone up over that period of time. We can't charge any more fees in this district. We absolutely can't.
And just so everybody knows, we probably should have started off, but our goal is for a level services budget, which means to bring forward into next fiscal year everything that we have this year. And level services doesn't mean level funding. Level services means there's going to be a significant increase in order to attain that goal. We have several scenarios here depending on the amount of state aid that we get. And the budget deficit, again, from the extremes could range from, and Mel, correct me if I'm wrong, if these numbers are still accurate, from almost $2 million to $500,000, depending on the Chapter 80 funding and the state aid that we get.
And I think that,
And that's to get the level services, nothing above and beyond.
I think fortunately, we, unlike a lot of other districts, at least held back on some of our ARRA funds, so that'll be some help this year. But the level of deficit we're looking at, I don't see anywhere to go besides staff and class sizes. Those are really the only two areas we can look at.
Certainly, we will do all we can to support a level services budget, but as Jerry pointed out, that will bring us to about $500,000 to $1 million deficit, and I'm using the Chapter 70 number from last year, 6.8 million, less 4%. We've kind of been told it'll be about a 4% cut, and where the numbers are varying is the starting point. I'm using 6.8 million, but the town's finance committee and board of selectmen are using a number much smaller. So we still have a shortfall that has to be absorbed somewhere. And, 80% of our budget is staffing. So that is usually, it's the obvious area. But as Jerry pointed out, we've got our staffing levels at the elementary school where we like them, they're in our range. And you're telling us that they work at those levels. So we really need to hear from the elementary administrators. Do we want to cut programs and reduce the week in some format? Doesn't have to be the half-day Wednesdays, it can be some other arrangement. Or do we want to increase classroom sizes? Because those are the two options that will save us money on the elementary level. And certainly I'm not going to support that, but we do need to have that prepared in the event that our budget does not pass town meeting. So we don't need to have an answer now, but certainly a new superintendent coming on board, that could be the scenario that he or she would be working with, a significantly reduced budget.
And I do think it's important to point out, we had a 1.9% increase this year, and we were able to keep level services. And the main reason we were able to do that was because of the teachers' willingness to come to the table with the school committee and to accept a contract that had no
Resulted in a pay
increase.
cut for half of the teachers in the system for the first fiscal year.
Correct.
Literally a pay cut.
So next year, those teachers are gonna get back onto their steps where they belong, which they should. You can't ask the teachers for 3 years to keep skipping steps and holding off on steps. So that's why the increase is a little bigger next year, because they have to get back to the step that they should be on. And the cost of living increase is 1% in that teacher contract. 1%. We're not even giving them what a lot of the surrounding districts are giving their teachers, and I don't understand how surrounding districts are affording those kinds of contracts. But that's why the increase, right now, we're at a 4.5% increase. If you add in, we did put some small capital items in, which is, we approved a couple of textbooks requests out of about 6 that were made. And we decided to put in for an increase in smart boards in our schools. So there's a little bit of money for small capital. We're at a 5.3% budget for our preliminary budget increase. Usually at this time, we'd be at 10% or more, because we have a lot more requests for additional staff. And Dr. Manville and Mr. Nelson, our business manager, decided that we really can't even put those positions in because there's no shot at them getting approved. But I do think that the elementary level, the class sizes are good. It is unfortunate that we've never restored the libraries and computer labs to full time. And I think with the increased pressure on accountability, which is good, but on getting everybody up to certain levels, certain standards that the government's requiring, we need to continue to invest, and it's going to be difficult this year.
But there is the real potential that you'll be asked to cut. And, you will have to think through if it's going to increase classroom sizes or decrease time in learning. And, we'll have to do it across all 3 elementary schools. So, until then, until you put your plan together for our next budget hearing, that'll be in late April, early May, we're gonna keep moving forward with the level services budget.
Right.
And Mel did mention that we added some small cap to the budget, which brought it above level services, but that money's being offset with the 50% of the ARRA funds that have to be used for something new.
Okay.
Remember last year, we used $75,000 for textbooks?
Right.
Because a portion has to be for something new.
Right.
So even though it sounds like we've added to the budget, it's actually got an offsetting funding source. Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
I guess I'll ask Mr. Boucher to come up, and Mr. Bernard can come with him, or he can come by himself.
I think they're okay. Think that's important.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, John.
Hi, John.
How are you all?
Hi.
Good evening. Want to save the best for last?
Thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you. Yes.
As you've heard, we're just meeting with the different administrators to get an idea of where you are with your budget, how level services will apply to your school, how you're gonna make some changes to make it work, keep the classroom sizes reasonable, and hopefully, John, at the high school, talk about adding on to the PE programs or the electives for kids in the junior and senior year. Okay? Well, John.
Okay. Well, you recall, I think it was just about maybe 6 weeks ago that I was before you with what I would label as some very exciting changes to the curriculum being offered at the high school in the elective areas. And I think that was, got the impression was very well received by all of the committee, and I think the feedback among students, I know the feedback among students has been very positive the last couple of weeks, because we've begun the process already of enrolling students for classes for next year. And we started with our current juniors, next year's senior students, and we're about halfway into the sophomore class now, and already the enrollment numbers in some of those elective courses that I presented to you when I was asking for the 2010-11 program of studies to be adopted have shown popularity among the student body. Biochemistry, philosophy, sports and entertainment marketing are three that have already shown very, what I would call very healthy interest. So that is good, and I think personally it would be very disheartening to me if we weren't able to offer a broad curriculum to students that I think can be afforded under a level services budget. The physical education course, reintroducing that after what I think is a 3-year hiatus to our juniors and seniors. Again, it's shown popularity, and I think is a good thing. It's a good elective to offer to our students, and again, it would be a shame not to be able to provide that opportunity next year. A level services budget, again, in my estimation right now, would allow us to I think, offer a very broad range of elective courses to students. The ones that I just mentioned to you, which are new for next year, as well as a number of the elective courses that we've been able to provide to students over the last several years. So I think for me it becomes almost something of a philosophical discussion, and whether or not we want to be a high school that offers English, math, science, and social studies, and maybe a foreign language and an elective here or there, or do we want to be a community that supports the high school offering a broad curriculum that provides students with opportunities to take courses that are going to help them to make educated choices about their majors of study in college and possible career choices. And I think that is jeopardized if we're not able to continue to offer a lot of the elective courses as well as a very healthy core curriculum. So the level services budget, in my opinion, is something that would allow a good number of elective courses to run. If that does not happen, then I would need to seriously examine whether or not we are able to do the kind of job that we do in the kind of class schedule that we do it. I think the block schedule is a good schedule. I think it provides for a very deep understanding of the curriculum for students, but it is a schedule that is probably more costly than a more traditional 7-period, 44-minute class schedule. And I would really need to take a very hard look at whether or not we would be able to continue to offer the block schedule, offer 8 courses to all students. I might need to think about limiting course offerings to 6 or 7. And I don't offer that as any kind of scare tactic, certainly not at all. But it's the reality of the block schedule and the ability to offer 8 classes to every student at the high school. So I think those become the primary issues for me. The broad curriculum, the varied elective opportunities, the amount of varied elective opportunities for students, and the ability to offer 8 classes are things that I would hate to see, and I think would be shameful for us to have to really take a look at if a level services budget does not come to pass.
It's taken us longer than we thought to restore all the reductions in electives at the high school level. We restored the time that was lost at the middle school and the elementary level as soon as we could.